Well, hello everybody. I hope you enjoyed your last week, and that week was to, make up a lot of your work. Some of you took advantage of that, some of you did not. Just understand that I will still be accepting any late work, just so you can catch up. I understand these are hard times, but you still got to do the work, or I can't give you credit for it. I can't just give you, grades for stuff you didn't do. But I will be on your side. I'm on your side. I want you to do this work. I want it done. Just get it into me when you can. Unfortunately, progress reports are set in stone, so those are already done, and that's what you got. But just know it's not your final grade. You can make all of this stuff up. So this week we're going to rush through a couple of the rest of these Europe nations, because we're going to have to finish this so we can move on to Central America and South America. And that last week of makeup work did set us behind a bit, so we have to catch up. So I'm going to rush a bit through these. I'm going to touch on some of the points of interest for these countries, and then we're going to move on. So understand, I'm going to be focusing mostly on folk music and folk dance and folk practices, because again, this is not a class about Western music, and a lot of these countries really had a lot to play in the development of Western music as we know it, such as Germany and Italy and all of those places, even Spain a little bit. And just really want to touch on more unique aspects of their culture, rather than this broad Western music, Bach and Beethoven, and in Italy you've got Vivaldi and all of them that really pushed forth what is Western music today. But we're going to steer away from there and try to do more folk. Okay, so we're going to start in Spain. And Spain is interesting because the first thing you're going to notice about Spain compared to other European countries is its architecture is very unique. Its architecture actually looks more Middle Eastern than most of the other countries. And that's because in around 711, the year 711, Spain was conquered by the Umayyad Caliphate. And that was back during the golden era of Islam. And so Spain was an Islamic territory back then, and a lot of the buildings are still up today from that time. So the capital of Spain, as most of you know, is Madrid. And Spain is just a beautiful country. It's got a lot of places to visit, a lot of places to see. Some of the things I'm going to show you, I'm going to attach the videos to the Google Classroom, are some of the events that you can go and see in Spain, and some of the more cultural events and types of music and arts. So the first of those is going to be bullfighting. So some of you have heard of bullfighting. It is a very, very interesting cultural event. And that's mostly because, the bull usually dies. A lot of people could consider this as, animal cruelty, while others say you can't put that label on it because this is culture, this is tradition. Leave that up to you. But you are going to watch a little bit of that. The bullfighter is called a matador, and the matador has to put his life on the line as well, with his blades, with his very, very sparkly costume, and his cape. So you're going to see a little bit of that, and just learn a little bit about that cultural aspect of Spain. We're then going to move on, and we're going to watch some flamenco. So flamenco is a term for the genre of music, but that is also split into two types of music. You've got your flamenco dance, which is separate from flamenco guitar. And understand that the dance and the guitar are almost always together, but they're different. They're different styles. I mean, the flamenco guitar has its own amazing acrobatics going on with the fingers, whereas the flamenco dance is focused on different types of moves and acrobatic moves with your body. So it's very interesting. We're going to watch that. We're going to get a little bit of that into your brains, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. I love flamenco. It is so fun. It's so hard, and so I really do have a great appreciation for those artists. Moving on, we're going to go to Italy. And like I said, Italy is one of those countries that is just so impactful to our modern society today, and especially in music with Western music. So the capital of Italy is Rome. As you all know about the Roman Empire, we're going to watch something about the Roman Empire and how long that lasted and how it fell and what impact that had on society at large. We're also going to move on to some folk music in Italy. When we're talking about folk music, we need to look at gondolier music, which is from Venice or Venezia. And in Venezia, they have these little boats. They're called gondolas, and these gondoliers will paddle through the canals, and they'll sing songs while they do it. And it's created its own genre of music over there in Italy. Another folk genre in Italy that was created was in Napoli, or also known as Naples. And so this is known as Napolitano music. So the Napolitano music is, or in English, Neapolitan music, is very unique and has actually become more famous than other types of folk music in Italy because it's sung all over the world. You've got songs like Santa Lucia, you've got songs like Yame Yame Gope Yame Ya, and lots of these different songs that have just become huge, and a lot of opera singers start singing them at the concerts to hype up the crowds and such. So yeah, so that's going to be Italy. Then we're going to move on to Germany and Deutschland. So Germany, the capital of Germany is Berlin. And when talking about Germany, we got to talk about the history of Germany. Germany is one of the newer countries, and I'm going to have you watch something on World War II, and a little bit. It ties into World War One. You can't talk about World War II without World War One because World War One created all of the tensions that spurned into World War II. But Germany had a big part in both of those wars. Germany lost the war in World War One, and as the loser, therefore, they were punished. And so the League of Nations punished them, started taxing their people, made it really hard to live in Germany, and that created a bunch of unhappiness that led to the people wanting something more, just being upset with their state and being upset with the League of Nations. And then along comes golden-tongued Hitler, who was able to stir those people into his direction, which led into World War II. So that's why you can't separate those two, because one directly led to the other. And then you've got, Prime Minister Chamberlain, who also didn't help much with the situations. But we're going to watch a little bit of that. Not too much, because I know you, in your history classes, you focus a lot on World War I and World War II. And I don't want to double up on that too much because I know you've already learned a lot about it. Then going into the folk aspect of Germany, we're going to learn about one of my favorite types of music, polka. So polka is in a 2 beats. It's usually done in bum 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 bum, and it's very unique, very happy, very fun. And so if you can ever listen to some live polka, you should go. One of those places is at the Weingarten or at the Willow Tree over in Sanford, and it's fantastic. Also going to touch base a bit on some of the Germany, not necessarily German, but Germany is very influential over Austria and some parts of Switzerland. So I'm going to include some of that folk aspect into this as well. So we're going to learn about alpine horns and what their use is, how they're used to send sounds over long distances, and they're just pretty cool and huge in general. And then we're also going to look at yodeling, which I think you guys will get a kick out of. I think you'll like yodeling because it's an art form in and of itself, and it really it's hard. It's not easy to do. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. I'm going to show you some fun stuff with that. I don't know if he's currently the top yodeler, but not too long ago, the top yodeler in Germany was a Japanese man, of all things. So I think that's going to be interesting. We're going to then move on to Hungary. And the capital of Hungary is Budapest. And Hungary, we're going to talk a little bit about a cultural group called the Rom people or the Romani people, oftentimes referred to as gypsies. However, that term has taken on a derogatory sense these days, so people don't usually use it. They prefer you to use Rom or Romani. And the Rom people, they're very much, they started off as very much nomadic tribe, kind of nomadic people, much like, when we learned about, Mongolians. They didn't stay in one place. And they would bring with them, what they would bring with them are their traditions, their cultures, and their music. And so a couple of things we're going to learn about is the cimbalom. So the cimbalom is kind of a zither. It's a hammered zither, I believe, that the Rom people would use in their music. And then I also want to talk about the best instrument ever in the history of the world, in my opinion, the hurdy-gurdy. So the hurdy-gurdy is a quarterphone, but it's done by you actually spin a wheel, and the wheel creates a drone over these strings. And then on the side of the hurdy-gurdy are these keys, and you push down the keys, and it changes the pitch of the notes, so you can play music. And I want one so bad. My wife knows I want one so bad, so she is always trying to look for cheap ones for me, but I just want an actual hurdy-gurdy. I don't want a build-your-own hurdy-gurdy or anything like that. I want an actual hurdy-gurdy. These things are amazing. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. And I'm going to let you guys listen to that. And one girl, she calls herself Patty Gurdy. She's on YouTube, and she's fantastic. And I'm going to introduce you to her and her videos. Next, we're going to move into Russia. So Russia, the capital of Russia is Moscow, of course. And as you know, Russia, the majority of Russia is actually in Asia, the continent. But it's considered a European country because their population, the majority of their population is on the European side in Moscow. Because not many people live over in Siberia and over there, Cthulhu. Not many people live over in the Asian side. And also there was a lot of racist politics going on when they decided to separate Eurasia from Europe and Asia. And Russia definitely wanted on the side of Europe. So they made themselves over there. Now, for Russia, one of the main things I want to talk about, I mean, we could sit here and talk about communism and the birth of communism and everything that went with Russia and the Cold War, but again, that's stuff you've already covered in your classes. I'm going to show you one video on it, but I'm not going to go too heavy into it because, this has been thrown on you in your history classes, I know. But I do want to focus a little on some of the aspects that they didn't teach you in your history classes. And one of those is the balalaika groups. So balalaika is a quarterphone, and it's kind of, all my students call it the Dorito guitar because it's shaped like a Dorito chip. But they come in all different sizes. There's bass balalaikas, tenor balalaikas, soprano balalaikas, all of these things, and they create the music that you would most associate with Russia. Now, Russia, when we're talking about this type of music, the music that you hear for typical Russian folk music, if you've ever played Tetris, Tetris uses a lot of balalaika music. Now, Russia's also got famous for its ballets. Of course, that came from France, as we learned, but Russia took it and kind of made it its own. Tchaikovsky especially. Really revolutionized ballet, but he was criticized a lot in Russia because he was taking all of these foreign types of music and making it his own in Russia, and the Russians actually wanted their own Russian music, and they had what they called the Big Five of Russian composers, and they pushed them and kind of pushed Tchaikovsky down. But again, that more leads into Western music. We're going to watch a little bit of something about the Big Five in Russia and what they did for their country. Moving on, our last country that we're going to cover is Bulgaria. And in Bulgaria, the capital of Bulgaria is Sofia. And really, the only thing we're going to talk about in Bulgaria, you're going to see a video about what is Bulgaria and why is it so different than other countries around it. But we're also going to look at the Bulgarian women's chorus, which is started actually in the fields, when women were working and taking care of their fields and doing all this busy work, they started singing. And it's a little weird. Some of my students hate it. Some of them love it. Some of them love to use it to bother those that hate it. So enjoy the Bulgarian women's chorus. All right, so that's it. That is what we're going to do this week. And good luck catching up on things, guys. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new field journals and a test at the end of this week. So it is a heavy week, but I think you can do it. We can get this done. All right, so best of luck.